The government is regarded as the most argued and discussed topics around the world, reaching back into history as far as the ancient Rome, possibly even further. Some people don't agree on how the government acts, while others protest against them. The sheer insaneness that comes out of people's mouths when talking about this topic can somewhat be understood. After all, it's the government's decision on exactly what you're able and not able to do, basically ruling over your entire life. Unfortunately, no matter what, there will always be a decision the government pushes out which will always instantly divide people and what they think about the decision. So then the question becomes, what makes a good government? And is that even possible? Let's take a look at one we made ourselves.
To begin with, let's assume that our country in which our government lives is right here in the middle of Russia, named Cowshire. And the government headquarters is right here. How does the political system work? If we're trying to get the best government outcome possible, then we need a great leader. Anyone can become the leader, but rather than a voting system, the person with the best qualities such as communication, knowledge, and morals will be elected. When a decision or law needs to be approved, it has to pass through intense research on all the possible good or bad effects on people, and the smaller details all need to be listed out. The decision is then brought back to the leader in which he approves or denies the final outcome of the law. This can be avoided if the branch of researchers vote on if it should still be passed, rewritten, or altogether dropped.
Laws are essential for a functioning government and country. After all, we don't want people to just go out in the streets and start shooting each other, because that would be pretty rude. Since we have the background on how a law gets passed, let's go over the principles of the laws and what they're founded upon. We can't go through every single law, as, let's be honest, there's currently 20,000 laws just governing the ownership of guns in the United States alone. However, our founding laws are as follows. Everyone can run for leadership with certain met requirements, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, ownership of property, and no one is above the law. There needs to be a point where there's a majority of people happy with how the government rules over their life. Otherwise, riots, civil wars, or other types of violence can break out. America hasn't been the best regarding this, but it has evolved and has become a lot more stable and equal than how it used to be, which is why the basis of our law model comes from American-made laws.
The economy is hands down the most important part of the government. We can think of the government as a heart pumping out blood, or money, which is spent by the people turning blue and returning back to the heart to be pumped back out again, while some of the blood and energy is turned into defenses and supply for the body. So how should the government make its money? Well, one word that everyone loves and has never been hated before: taxes. But what should and shouldn't be taxed? Let's start with one of the most basic examples: food and water. Let's say that we don't tax people for this because it's an immoral thing to do. First, let's put public water fountains everywhere, water pipelines to all the houses and sewers, and any other extra things requiring water is now tax-free. But now there's a problem. The water purifying and distribution facility needs money to operate and to make a facility in the first place, adding up to, let's say, around $250 million. Now we need actual water. So we buy trucks to import water, plus actually buying the water adds up to, let's say, another $60 million plus taxes from that country. But how are we supposed to travel with no road? So we build highways and whatnot for another subtle $1 billion. The food isn't much better, requiring money to start farms, move product, more roads, more communication, and sometimes even large importations of food from other countries. This all adds up to a huge chunk of money out of the government's own pockets. This is why the government taxes people, so it can protect, build, and help its people thrive in its times of need.
Now we have somewhat of a decently odd nation going. There's still a whole load of issues that need to be solved, which I'll go over quickly. People in poverty and unemployment will be given the ability to work in the military or government. To clarify, not in the fighting force unless they want to. Healthcare and basic quick cares will be given to those in need and can't afford it. To go with this, a basic health insurance will be required for everyone to have, just like car insurance. Streets and sidewalks will be cleaned every day. A level of hygiene will be required for any business to run, regardless of what they do. This includes areas outside of business, such as outside tables for eating or benches, etc. Transportation will be covered by buses, trolleys, and cheap rentable bikes. Education is handled differently from America, compared to its still industrial age values in which teaching has a lack of communication and control. Inauthentic learning with a generic set of knowledge, lack of room for passion, being forced to do the same thing as everyone else every day. How we learn individually, that's what's important. Foreign issues not affecting us will be left alone, since at this point we're an incredibly tiny population of only 1 million people. Terrorism that can be prevented through border patrol, communication, and a level of security will be put in place. Housing is simplistic. Those who can't afford it can live in a rebuilding center, which helps people find work and teach those in need of job skills while also housing them. And communication is handled through the internet, mail, satellite, and your phone.